So I am fortunate enough to have with me here three of my board members, Devina, Rich, and Deborah. And we all want to talk about the first education on location that ClaimsXchange had in Napa a few weeks ago and kind of feel what the takeaways were. So let's start with Devina. What were your thoughts about the conference we had?
Well, specifically, this one I thought was amazing because there were unique takeaways than other conferences. It was refreshing that we talked a lot about pre-litigation stage, of a claim, which is very germane to what I do. So it was good to hear everyone's input about that time and investigating a claim. And I thought that brought together claims and legal in a very, very meaningful way this time. So I thought the content was very unique, and that we were able to get all our perspectives out there with regard to investigating a claim and targeting the right kind of discovery. I have to talk about the venue. So that was so awesome. First of all, no distractions, right? So when we usually do it downtown or in a hotel, like you feel serene, but then you come outside and there's all the diversion of like being in a city. Napa was amazing. The venue was so good. And I live by my cell phone. I didn't even want to use it. Matter of fact, I couldn't find a plug, so that didn't matter. But it definitely felt like it was not crowded. And even when I went outside, maybe to make a phone call, like the biggest distraction was like a rocking chair and a valet. So that really helped me feel good. And I was really productive while I was there.
That's fantastic. Deborah, what do you think?
I would 100% reinforce what Devina said by saying that my observation was that Devina wasn't the only one who felt that way, that everyone there felt the way Devina did. When I looked around, I saw that everyone registered for the conference was there from beginning to end for every one of the educational sessions. I saw everybody together during the breaks. I saw everybody together during networking and meals. And I know that it was purposely arranged that way to be free of distractions. And boy, it worked. It was real evidence for me that everyone was there for the same reasons, to really absorb information and knowledge and to share it with their peers. There wasn't anybody there who wasn't committed to the conference, and you don't see that anywhere else.
No, and what's really kind of funny, which has never happened to me before in all of the years I've planned conferences, is that we had 100% attendance as well. There was not one name tag left, which to me was beyond. I was more happy about that than almost anything else, just to know that everybody came that said they were going to come. Rich, what was your feeling?
Yeah, I thought it was the culmination of what you've been trying to plan now throughout COVID, right? I remember probably a year and a half ago or whatever it was, when we were actually doing an interview at the beginning of the ClaimsXchange during COVID, and we were talking about what it was going to be like when we finally get out there. It was exactly what I expected. As Deborah and Devina said, we got there. It was quaint. It was what I envisioned when I think of something that's going to be advantageous for client development, for education, camaraderie, right? There were lawyers, there were vendors, there were clients, there were everybody that you needed in that small venue that you were, essentially accessible to too, right? Because it was something where you didn't have to wait in line, in order to talk to somebody. Even they did, everyone was just there, and the education was great. Again, the culmination of what you and I had talked about when you were sitting in that chair, in the summer of 2020, however long ago that was, exactly what I expected. It was wonderful.
Oh, that's great to hear. Go ahead, Deborah.
I'd also like to say, Rich mentioned client development, but I didn't feel client development. The line that you talked about, Rich, I'm usually at the head of it. I'm usually the person that everybody wants to talk to. And I didn't feel that way at this conference. What I felt was that I was in a room full of people to whom I could go. I could make the overture if their services were interesting to me. And I wound up making connections that I'll use in my program because somebody happened to be sitting next to me during a session, or somebody happened to offer me a ride to the airport. And our conversation led organically to the conversation about a business relationship. So I'm not naive to the fact that business development is a big objective of a conference, whether it's large or more intimate like this one, but it didn't feel that way to me. And I so appreciated that as someone who buys services.
So Rich, I have a question for you. I know that a lot of other conferences that are out there, people walk away and say that, gosh, it was so attorney heavy. Did you feel that there was a heavy presence for attorneys or some of your competitors there?
For me, no, of course not. You know, there have been times in the past, even at bigger conferences, where you try to do exactly what you've done with the ClaimsXchange, which is have an intimate setting where some of us would bring, you know, clients, and then a couple of us would, you know, everybody would bring their own clients and kind of have almost a gathering, right? That's what this was. And with the other lawyers that were there, it was more camaraderie, right? Everybody was kind of in the same room talking about the same things, and some people weren't being excluded that would normally be excluded in a bigger venue, and vice versa. And so no, not at all. I thought this was exactly what client development is made for the lawyer side, for sure.
That's great. Does anybody else have anything to say about the amazing?
Absolutely, yeah.
Go ahead, Devina.
Okay, the amazing, yeah.
The amazing event that we had.
Yes. What Rich is saying, I'm back to the content, which, you know, I just think was so unique, because part of the content about trying a case or handling a case or litigation, we had the topic of empathy, right? So everybody needs to talk about that. I think, once again, the content definitely helped solidify our connections, because it wasn't anything that you needed to know or be legal to participate. So I think, once again, with the topics, that also helped everyone come together and spend time talking about the same thing, and everyone could have an opinion because you didn't need to know the law.
Right. Well, the good news, actually, the great news is that we are going to go back to Napa next March. And I hope that the three of you will be there, along with many other people that will venture out with us again next year, and that we'll do another wine tasting. We'll have a little bit more fun, and we'll obviously bring great education back to Napa. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
For sure.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
See y'all.
Bye.